Today we're going to take a look at the Vegas Golden Knights' surprising start, and we're going to analyze their most recent victory that came last night against the Boston Bruins. And that's coming up next. Hi everyone, what's going on? My name is Mike and welcome again to Top Shelf Hockey. If you're a huge NHL hockey fan and you want to keep up with all the latest news, stats, highlights, etc., consider subscribing now so you don't miss any future videos. Alright, diving into today's content, let's take a look at the Vegas Golden Knights' surprising start. I think everyone would agree that nobody expected them to be so successful so early on. They now sport a 4-1 record, which is, quite surprising, and if this continues would certainly be a playoff team. Although I don't expect them to continue at such a crazy pace. If you look at the most recent game they played yesterday against the Boston Bruins, they picked up another victory, and there was a lot of firsts that happened in this game for this team. Obviously, a great story here with Vegas goaltender Subban getting his first start in a Golden Knights uniform, playing his former team, Boston, who just recently put him on waivers. I think everyone was a little bit surprised when Vegas grabbed Subban off waivers, considering they already had Fleury and Pickard from the expansion draft. Although they shipped Pickard out and brought in Subban, who they obviously thought would be a longer-term, better fit. Subban's a former first-round draft pick of the Boston Bruins and never really got much of a chance to play in Boston. He did get a few opportunities to be the backup goaltender to Tuukka Rask, but really never had any good showings. The few opportunities he did have went absolutely terrible, and he's been playing mostly in their AHL farm team for the last few years, although a lot of teams still viewed him as a higher end prospect, and so far looks like he's ready to play for Vegas and to give them some good goaltending. Seems like Vegas has been part of a lot of good stories lately, obviously with Subban getting to play his former team and defeat them, obviously with the recent tragedy that happened in Vegas and their opening ceremonies and speeches and the way they handled that on the ice, on how they could acknowledge the tragedy and to kind of build some strength within the community and to heal through hockey was certainly done fantastically well. Great speech by Derek England. They might as well just make him captain, to be honest. I think he's a local, lives in Vegas. Obviously it was a great speech, great play on the ice so far. I think he'd be a good candidate to become their captain here soon, once they decide to name one. But they've been certainly a great story. They're also the only modern NHL expansion franchise to be so successful so early on. If you look back at the historical stats, they're the only other teams that have done this in their beginning of their franchise history, with Montreal and the New York Rangers, and obviously they were original 6 teams, been around forever. So they're the only modern team as an expansion team to win 4 of their first 5 games. So Subban gets his first NHL victory. We also saw 2 players get their first NHL goals, Alex Tuch and Vadim Shipachev, who finally got to make their first NHL appearances and score their first NHL goals. So obviously the Golden Knights have been battling the injury bug a little bit lately with Marc-Andre Fleury going down, as well as some other guys. So considering that they were playing shorthanded with some guys playing their first NHL games against a team like the Boston Bruins, the fact that they won was quite something. But really, if you watch the game or even into the highlights, the Bruins really didn't look all that engaged. They just didn't really have a good game at all. Not really sure what's going on with Boston, but really, if you're a Boston fan, I want to hear from you in the comments. What do you think of your team so far? I mean, they're losing against Vegas. Vegas has done pretty well so far, but the fact that they really were shorthanded, the Bruins just didn't look all that interested to play it. So obviously they've got some issues there. I know Bergeron is out, and he's a major player for them, but not sure that's an excuse to be doing this poorly so far. So Vegas fans, if any of you out there are Vegas Golden Knight fans and you're watching this video, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment to let me know what you think of your team so far. Must be exciting to see them having so much success so early on, but at the same time, where do you think that it's a long year? Where do you think they're going to end up? Certainly, I'm not sure that they're going to end up being a playoff team, even though as of today they would be. But obviously, it's still quite early, and there's lots of games left to be played. Although at this rate, I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't in the basement either. I mean, they certainly appear to be better than some of the other teams, and I would project them longer term of not being a tanking basement dwelling team. Based on the strategy so far, General Manager George McPhee, I would have thought going into the season that they really weren't all that interested in winning, and that they were kind of more interested in tanking to get more, not only, they've got lots of draft picks, but to possibly have another shot at having either a top pick, number 1 pick, or top 5 for sure. So I'm a little bit surprised that they're being so successful. James Neal has been fantastic. He's scoring at a great pace. Fleury was giving him great goaltending before he got hurt. We'll see if Malcolm Subban can keep that up. If I were a betting man, I would say that Vegas is going to have a pretty good year for an expansion team at the very least. If you take a look at a lot of the other more modern expansion franchises, they've had so little success so early that obviously the bar isn't set very high. But with the rules that the league put in place to give Vegas a little bit more of an advantage when it comes to the expansion draft, entry draft, etc., they've certainly done well, and I do expect them to, at the very least, probably be considered the most successful modern franchise in their inaugural season. So as a hockey fan, and obviously as a hockey channel, we'll certainly be keeping a close eye on the Vegas Golden Knights. We'll certainly be quite interested to see how their season goes. They're certainly one of the more interesting stories this year. So make sure you leave me a comment down below. Let me know, what do you think the Vegas Golden Knights are going to accomplish this year? Do you see them being a basement dweller? Do you think they're going to fall off a cliff here and end up being a little bit more compared to the other expansion teams? Do you see them maybe making a run for the playoffs? Either way, no matter what your opinion is, I'd like to hear from you in the comments down below. So if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Again, if you're just browsing your way through and you love hockey, consider subscribing, and I'll be talking to you soon.